Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for attending the Waterloo Mayor's Forum here at the Waterloo Rec Complex, and a very special welcome to all of our audiences on the live webcast. My name is Eric Droza from 570 News. I will be moderating this debate this afternoon. This is the second of 4 municipal candidate forums organized by the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce in advance of the October 27th vote. Candidates for the regional chair and the regional council tonight, while the Kitchener Mayoral debate will be at the City Hall Rotunda on Tuesday, September 30th, followed by the office of Mayor in Woolwich Township on October 1st at the Waterloo Memorial Centre. Now, the format for this event tonight will be 90-second opening remarks by the candidates, followed by a series of questions of concern for local employers, which have been advanced through the Chamber's policy advisory committees and the at-large membership. At the conclusion of the questions, each candidate will have 90 seconds for closing remarks. Also, during the debate, a candidate can request, at the moderator's discretion, a rebuttal to an answer provided by an opposing candidate. You will have 2 minutes for your original response for every question, and if you'd like a rebuttal, just raise your hand. I'll do my best to or just yell at me. That'll work too. And I'll give you 60 seconds for a rebuttal. These rebuttals will only be allowed at the conclusion of all the answers to a specific question. So we'll get everyone's answer for a question first, and if there are any rebuttals, we'll go back to something. The order for the opening remarks drawn before the debate are Rami Saeed, Erica Traub, Dave McDonald, and Dave Jaworski. So the first question will go to Erica, and then we will follow that rotation afterwards for the closing remarks. So at this point, I'd like to ask Mr. Rami Saeed for opening remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rami Saeed, and I am so excited to talk to you today. You know, the city has experienced a tremendous amount of growth in a very short time period. Now, entire subdivisions of homes are standing in what were merely fields when I was young. Whether you enjoy this process of growth that we're experiencing or you resent it, change is happening. As a fresh, young, and vibrant city, now is the time for a fresh approach. The same old won't cut it any longer. Now is the time for the good business sense, energy, and an open mind. As your mayor, I bring my great business sense to the table. As a self-employed professional with a successful business, I demonstrate keen leadership ability. I consider my youth to be an asset. I hear in terms of my grandparents. I know the issues that matter to my parents. I am at an age where I am connected to every single age group. I hear you all, young and experienced. I have a vision to propel new ideas. Wisdom and age alone, without the drive and vision of flies, will not move this city forward. I plan to work in Waterloo, live in Waterloo, as you'll have me. The city's success is also connected to my own future success. If this city fails, I fail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Erica, your opening remarks.
Would you mind if I could use the podium?
Sure, absolutely.
Hello, my name is Erica. I'm honored to address you today as candidate for Mayor of Waterloo. I am running here because I care about the future of our city. I am passionate about Waterloo's potential going forward as a world-class, beautiful city. I live in the Uptown core. Professionally, I have been serving individuals in our for the past 20 years as a court lawyer. I have served with impeccable record of professionalism, ethics, and competence throughout. And on the ground level, I have seen the issues we are facing as a society. These issues cut across all socio-economic levels and touch us all. I have been on a listening tour since January, and 2 themes have emerged for me since then. 1, the people of Waterloo feel disconnected from what goes on at City Hall. And number 2, we have top-heavy bureaucracy that makes it too difficult to get things done in Waterloo. Ladies and gentlemen, I recognize that this is your city. My goal is to foster a culture of public engagement in a meaningful way. I recognize the role of the city is to provide services and maintenance with a high degree of efficiency and to maintain and provide necessary infrastructure. I recognize the city must do so while respecting that people are struggling to make ends meet, and I recognize that private investment is what will bring us economic prosperity. Being mayor is about doing the right thing for the community with conviction and strength, and that is what I offer you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I will now ask Dave McDonald.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here this afternoon and talk to you a little bit about what I do as the mayor of Waterloo. Most of you know what I've been doing for the last 40 some odd years, but I've devoted my whole life to public service in one way or another, first with the government and then with CKCO TV as your weather guy. I also operated my own business for a time, and I am now the executive director of a charity that operates 4 Christian-based radio stations in Southern Ontario, one of them being Faith FM. So I have a business background and I have a public service background. My platform is fairly simple. The mayor is not the person who makes all the decisions in the city. The mayor is simply who helps things along. The mayor only has one vote. So I plan to be accessible to anyone. That means that if you've got a problem, you call me and I will try and fix it the best way I can, proving that you are able to fight City Hall. Then I will be accountable. I will make sure that if I take a trip somewhere or do anything that is spending your money, you will know about it, how much it was, what it was for, and I promise I won't be buying any $16 glasses of orange juice. Thirdly, I will try to make things affordable for the city because I am spending your money, not mine. And finally, I will be, because of my public service and my profile, I'll be an excellent ambassador for the city of Waterloo. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dave Jaworski.
Great. Thank you very much to the Chamber for having the debate and having us all here today. I arrived in Waterloo 30 years ago and never really looked back. I've raised my family here, had a successful career with BlackBerry, and actively contributed through volunteerism throughout the community. Now I want to serve you, the citizens, as Mayor of Waterloo. I'm happy to be here today to share my ideas and details of my experience, my character, and above all, to share my plan of moving our city forward. My plan is based on 3 priorities that are based on my personal experience and the hundreds of conversations that I've had in our community on doorsteps and in coffee shops. The downturn in our economy affected my family personally and thousands of families in Waterloo region. We need a plan to rebuild our prosperity. We need to bring real business practices into government, improve transparency, and make the most of the money that we already have through effective government. And as a volunteer, I've witnessed the kindness and the empathy that makes me proud to be a citizen of Waterloo. We need to continue to support a vibrant and caring community.
15 seconds.
The plan, the positive leadership, and experience in business, the community, and with government to succeed as Mayor of Waterloo. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, candidates, for your opening remarks. We'll get things started with the first question going to Erica. And the first question, it's a 2-parter. If elected, what will you do to attract new business and investment to the city of Waterloo? Also, do you support the pending creation of a new Waterloo Region Economic Development Corporation?
Thank you. That's a very good question. The Waterloo Regional Economic Development Initiative is a very bold one, and I think it is important that we have a strong presence on the regional level at that seat. I think dealing with these issues is on a regional level. It's quite appropriate with each city participating actively in that. So we need solid representation at that level. I believe economic investment, private investment is the key to the growth of our city, and I think the city needs to have a culture where we enable the private sector to make roots here. The top-heavy bureaucracy is something I've heard over and over in the last months, and it is something Waterloo needs to address. We need to have the open for business sign flipped on, and we need to serve our community. That includes private individuals, it's all the residents, and it's all the investors who are willing to take a look at Waterloo as a desirable place to carry on business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now go on to Don. And if anybody needs me to repeat a question, by all means, I can always repeat the question.
Well, I think that the red tape issue, the bureaucracy, is well addressed here. That is an issue that I think I hear a lot about from a lot of my friends. I have friends who are in the business of building houses and different contractors. The red tape issue is a major one, major stumbling block done in the city of Waterloo. So I think we need to make it a more friendly atmosphere for people to come who want to put their money into the city and who want to build buildings and developments and subdivisions, whatever they're going to do. We need to make it so that they come to City Hall and they're accepted and they're not given all sorts of blockades to what they want to do. And as far as the economic development idea goes, I think it's an excellent suggestion to have this sort of commission. I know that our current mayor is extremely interested in economic development. She shared that with me. I think that's an important for any city. If they want to grow and become prosperous, you've got to find a way to get the businesses to come here and develop the core economy of the city. So I would support that as well.
Thank you very much. And we now go on to Dave Jaworski.
Thank you very much for the question on economic development. On that, my platform, Rebuilding Prosperity, I actually have a 4-point plan: keep, grow, start, and attract. Keep this focused on our largest businesses, our largest employers within our city, to make sure that we have a strong account management plan with them so that we are in tune with their needs. They need a voice at City Hall too. Number 2, grow. Our small and medium businesses are the heartbeat of our economy, the ones who create jobs. And I served on the KW Chamber of Commerce board for 6 years, just finishing up last year. And so I've had a lot of experience with our small and medium businesses and understand what they need. And we need the city needs a strategic relationship with the Chamber, Communitech, Manufacturers Innovation Network, as well as the Uptown BIA directly, as we do today. Number 3 is START, an entrepreneurship organization up on University Ave. We need to understand what these entrepreneurship experts need from the city, so that when these entrepreneurs create businesses, they stay in Waterloo and create jobs here. And finally, number 3, to answer part B of your question, attract. Waterloo Region needs its first ever economic development strategy, and that will be created in 2015. I plan to use my business experience in that, bring together the 3 cities, the 4 townships, and the region to represent our community to the world. And through the Waterloo Region Economic Development Corporation, which we just approved 6 weeks ago by the Regional Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question will go to Dave McDonald first, and the question is, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Question.
Yes, I will.
Sorry.
This one to Ron. If elected, what will you do to attract new business and investment to the city of Waterloo? Also, do you support the pending creation of a new Waterloo Region Economic Development Corporation?
So, as a local business owner myself, I've started.
You speak right into the mic. It's hard to hear the back.
I apologize. So, as a young business owner, I've built both businesses in Kitchener and Waterloo. I can tell you for sure that the process in Kitchener is a lot easier to navigate than it is in Waterloo. As of right now, within the next 30 days, my first Waterloo business will be open. We're opening up in Uptown Waterloo. And the process we've had to go through compared to what we've talked to with other people in the region is far more exponential than everybody else. So I happen to agree with both Erica and Dave McDonald that we do have to start reducing our bureaucratic process in the city of Waterloo. We have to protect our own interests, but we also have to make it easier for people to navigate. It's not the fact that we have too many rules or the rules are unreasonable. It's the process in which we have to go through them. A lot of people get stuck trying to figure out what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong. They're not being approved for the things that they all right could be. It's just they did something wrong in the process and they don't understand the process as a whole. So we just have to make it more accessible and easier to navigate for people, so that they can start to push and grow business here. Because the fact is, time is money, and if people are wasting a whole lot of time just trying to get open, they're probably going to be more attracted to going to Kitchener or Cambridge. So the second part of that question, in terms of the economic board, I believe it has some good merits that we do have to consider and work with. But the one thing that worries me about that process is if we kind of combine all these BIAs into one board across the entire region, we're going to start neglecting certain issues that are area specific. What you have to worry about in the uptown core of Waterloo is different than downtown Kitchener or on Hespeler and Cambridge. And if we make them one rule, one unity, one group of people, we're going to start losing focus on what issues are really important to each of those individual groups. And for that, I think, although we should have the conversation open, we should also be considering the fact that we must make sure we protect every individual area's interests. Thank you.
Thank you. I almost felt like giving you more time for skipping you over there. Won't happen again. I do apologize. The next question, we'll start with Dave McDonald. And the second question is, how can the city of Waterloo minimize disruptions to local businesses from the LRT construction?
Well, that is an excellent question, and one that I'm getting a lot of feedback about. And to be honest with you, my position on the LRT construction is that we should stop the LRT altogether. But if we can't do that, then we need to make sure that these businesses, many of whom, if we don't do something, they won't survive this construction period because they just can't go a year or 2 years without business coming to their front door. So we need to have some kind of strategy in place to compensate these people for their lost businesses because they didn't ask for this LRT, and we're forcing it on them, and we need to make sure that they're looked after. But once again, I stress that my position is that it's not too late to stop the LRT, and it's imperative that you vote for a candidate that you believe the same that I do, that it's not too late to stop it, and this election then becomes the referendum on the LRT.
Thank you very much. We're just going to check to make sure that microphone's on, actually, so people are having. Just pass it around. Sure, go ahead, sir.
So the question was on our uptown businesses and how they'll work through the construction of the LRT. In July, I had a number of meetings, and in August, with their uptown businesses, went and visited them, found a few who were definitively concerned, and they found that they couldn't get answers to questions that they wanted from the region. I've been attending all the regional meetings and have met up with a number of people in the region. And I was able to put in phone calls, and I called back to one of the owners, and he said, after I told him the answers to his 4 questions, he said, "Wow, I didn't think anybody would ever get back to me. I thought you were just coming by." I said, "No, the answers do lie. They lie within the region. You just have to find them sometimes." So there's a real lesson on communication of getting the message out there of what's happening. And one of the key answers to that is that the region is going to move along the construction. It's not going to open up everything all at once. It's going to move it along so that we'll see uptown construction likely happening in the spring-summer timeframe or the summer-fall timeframe of 2015. So that gives them a little bit of planning, and there's already accessibility ways of getting their deliveries through the back and things like that. And another one who I met with, an uptown business owner who owns a little grocery store, she sent me a message just 2 days ago, and again, reiterating her thanks for me for again finding out some misconceptions that she had heard about the coming aisle, what it was going to mean to King Street, and 2 things were completely false. I was able to clear those up for her. She was very appreciative because that helps her in her uptown planning.
15 seconds.
And well, really, that's it. Just bring it over.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Rami now. Rami, go ahead.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. How can the city of Waterloo minimize disruptions to local businesses from the LRT construction?
So as Dave was just discussing, the construction for LRT is being done in phases. Starting next Monday, you'll start to see it on the Caroline Street area there. And what they're doing is they're going section by section within a couple of weeks, trying to reduce the amount of traffic damage that they do. We're planning on keeping all the corridors open for local business traffic, local residents traffic through, and all that manner. And that's the first step of it. The second step, I was talking to a lady named Kimberly Moser at the Regional of Waterloo, and we were discussing about back-end traffic entrance. So for the businesses along King Street, many of those businesses have entrances in the back area of the development. What they were talking about doing, one thing that would be really interesting for the community as a whole, is starting to build a back entrance community. So you start to build up a culture within that back alleyway. We can infuse it with art and local musicians and everything like that to kind of build up a whole new community going through that back entrance. In doing that, not only will we drive more traffic to those businesses who are now interested in that culture, but we're also going to make sure that those businesses remain open and that people know how to get there. We have to focus on being transparent, letting everybody know what's happening as it occurs, making sure people are educated that there are other options for them to go through and ways to get to those businesses, and that those businesses are still open. Working as a community is the best way that we can help provide a stable economy for everybody involved in the process through the LRT construction.
Thank you. And we now go to Erica Trout.
Thank you. What I will do throughout the construction process is communicate, 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 and apply common sense. We do not want to kill the golden goose of all the businesses, of families who have invested their livelihood in the uptown corridor. The key to managing this is communication and common sense, which means if we shut down access to the business on one road, we do not also shut down access to the business on the adjacent street. We have to ensure that at all times throughout the construction process, there is the ability of the customer to get through the front door and back to their vehicle or the sidewalk or the road safely. I will be a presence, a personal presence on the street to make sure these things are done. Rami referred to Kimberly Moser at the region. It is Ms. Moser, and I told her that she has the toughest job in the entire region because it is her job to keep people happy throughout this process. She is accessible. I have seen her uptown. I have seen her talking to business. I've discussed her involvement with some businesses along King Street. So there is a plan for communication and also common sense. That's what it comes down to. For the most part, the businesses uptown are excited about having the LRT. They want it. They want to see it happen. They want to see it happen quickly and neatly. And we can help with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now we will go to the next question, and this question will go to Dave Jaworski. Do you support the funding for the cultural sector flowing through the Creative Enterprise Organization with appropriate accountability mechanisms? If not, how do you propose supporting the sector?
If we look back at Creative Enterprise Initiative, it was founded by some of our longest term residents of our community, the wisest residents of our community through the Prosperity Council. And it was launched in around 2007, 8, 9. And if you look at businesses, we were hit by the global financial crisis. We were hit by the manufacturing outsourcing, including employees. And finally, number 3, our largest employer, BlackBerry, shed thousands of jobs. This was one of the toughest times ever to have a business, to start a business, and for sure to start a not-for-profit organization. So that organization met with challenges, just as every other business did. So what do we need to do? Right now, it's under new management. A local person who I served with on the Chamber of Commerce board, Roger Farwell, he's taken the reins of it. It has a lot of promise, and we need to make sure that it lives up to that promise through accurate reporting, regular reporting, and then eventually moving towards moving our dollars through there. Because again, just like the Waterloo Region Economic Development Corporation, it's through collective workings that we can achieve matching funding that we are not getting from provincial and federal and other not-for-profit sources. And if we work through Creative Enterprise, we can actually multiply our money, and that is key to me.
Thank you. And we now go to Ronnie.
So, getting into the history of CI, I'll give it kind of a that. Effectively, right now, the City of Waterloo gives approximately $40,000 to CEI of the $140,000 we spend amongst all our arts, from the symphony to the museum and everything like that. To me, CEI is a great investment for the region because it's able to take the money that we spend abroad throughout all our arts, and it's able to funnel to different areas that we may not notice working as a city. The city's hands are pretty tied. We're taking care of a lot of business. We're probably not the best people to be helping out the arts in every little aspect and saying you get money and you don't. So in my opinion, I think it's going to be a long process. It's going to take some time to do. But over the next couple of years, I'd like to see pretty much all of our funding be flowing through CEI. They're probably better suited to handle the museum. They're probably better suited to handle the symphony than we are. And in working with them, we'll be able to ensure that we're not forgetting about the little guys here and there who have a much harder time getting funding. Using CI, they're much more involved with the local community. They have local artists right in their building with them that they work and help fund the facility for them who can't afford it. And in empowering CI, we'll actually be empowering all the artists throughout the community, and we'll actually help build up the art culture altogether. Again, my strongest opinion is that the city, we're not the greatest at dealing with every little individual type of art. We're a lot better off throwing the money through somewhere like CI, who can actually work with the little guy and let us go back to administrating the more important, well, not more important items, but the items that are more of a city aspect. Because arts, unfortunately, and government don't really go hand in hand other than funding them.
Thank you. And we go to Erica.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask all the candidates to actually grab the mic and speak right into the mic. It's very difficult to hear at the back, so it's not picking up. So speak right into the mic, please.
Okay, thank you. We have a huge issue in our society, the quiet issue that's starting to surface, and that is mental health issues. It's affecting families, workplaces, a great number of people. I strongly believe that our access to arts and culture is a very important way to deal with the issue of mental health. And I support initiatives from the committee. City Council are not equipped to use of music and arts. So the CEI is a very good initiative. I believe that art and culture should be accessed where there is funding publicly as much as possible. I believe we should have public art throughout our city. I think our city should be a blank canvas for our artists, be it music or murals or statues, so that we can bring reflective, beautiful focal points to our city. We're focusing on a walkability city, biking, enjoying the outdoors, enjoying uptown, enjoying our various neighborhoods. We're going to be seeing the constructions of LRT stops. Let's bring art and culture that you are paying for to the public so we can enjoy it on a daily basis as we go about our business, go about our busy lives, and find some peace and tranquility and beauty in Waterloo. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. And we now go to Mr. David McDonald.
Yeah, I would definitely support the CEI. I think it's a great idea. I think any city needs to have a vibrant arts and culture community. In my job as the executive director of the Christian radio programs, we find that one of the mandates we have is promoting Christian artists who would never get any kind of promotion on regular radio or TV. So we're very much involved with the musical end of the arts community at the radio station. And I think that putting money into an organization like CEI is money well spent. I know Roger Farwell personally, and he's a great guy, and I think he'll do a great job.
Thank you very much. And we now move on to the next question. This question will go to Rami Saeed. The question, Chamber's priority issues include physician recruitment, interest arbitration, municipal tendering, and tax restraint. What do you consider the priority issues for the City of Waterloo over the next 4 years?
So this is listed. I think one of the biggest things that everybody can agree on is our medical system here. Waterloo just got deemed to be one of the greatest people where everybody want to come and move to, yet we got a D in our medical care. We don't have enough hospital beds, we don't have enough doctors' offices, we don't have enough doctors on hand. We made progress with the new building now on Ira Needles there. There's a lot more people who don't have a family doctor. And on top of that, that building provides a whole lot of other facilities. It gives people access to specialists and x-ray beds. What we need to do is we've got to start working as a community to continue growing that prospect. Because as our population grows, And as we try to be more diverse in all our business aspects and our education, we're going to be driving in more people, which means there's going to be more people getting sick, unfortunately. It means that there's going to be a greater need for medical care. The old method of building large hospitals and expanding on them, financially it doesn't work anymore. What happens is you end up having areas that are too far gone, that they're not getting the proper medical care that they need. And in building smaller cluster organizations, kind of like the one on Ira Needles, which I think we actually start to build different areas. What they do is they provide people in neighborhoods access to proper medical care closer to home at a more affordable rate. So I think one of the biggest issues is continuing to work on our medical care and developing from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rami. And Erica.
All the areas that you mentioned are important areas. So to isolate one and to eliminate the others, it does not imply that one is less important than the other. The role, what I come back to is the role of the city with those issues. The city's job is to provide services, maintenance, and infrastructure. If we can do that well, we will become a desirable community. We need to give good value to the residents. We need to have a strong backbone to our city. That itself attracts professionals. It attracts investment dollars. So if we do what we are supposed to be doing well, we enable development in our city. That has to be a focus. I am very sensitive to the fact that I have spoken and heard from the people that the financial burden of their tax load is crushing. We have to respect that. I believe if we build a strong and fair city and we establish partnerships with our private stakeholders, the sky is the limit. The School of Pharmacy in Kitchener has brought attention to our area in the field of medicine. That kind of partnership and encouragement with the private sector is what will rescue us in not only medicine, but in many fields. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we go on to Dave McDonough.
Well, I have to say that in conversations that I've been having with residents, and many of them are homeowners who have been in their homes for many years, the tax load is probably one of the number one issues that I've been hearing about. And I think we need to find a way to control that tax load. Taxes have been going up a fair bit in the past 10 years. In some cases, I've talked to people where taxes are up 50% in the past 10 years from what they were. A lot of seniors are telling me they're afraid that if this LRT project goes through, which is going to be the biggest driver of the taxes for the next several years, they may lose their homes or have to sell out, move into a retirement home that they really can't afford. So for my way of thinking, the people I've been talking to, the tax load is the number one issue. And I totally agree with Erica that the city's job is to deliver the services that people require at a price they can afford. And no one I've talked to really minds paying taxes if they get good value for the dollar. So that's my my idea, is to give people the best value for their dollar spent, because I'm not spending my money, I'm spending your money. And that tax money needs to be spent wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. We go on to Dave Jaworski.
And what were all the choices again that you listed earlier?
Yeah, well, they're not choices. The Chamber's priorities issues include physical recruitment, interest arbitration, municipal tendering, and tax restraint. What do you consider the priority issues for the city of Waterloo over the next 4 years?
Well, in my case, in my plan, it's rebuilding prosperity. It's bringing jobs and making it an attractive place for business to do business, for new businesses to start, and to attract business. And that's key. And I've answered most of that question before. When I was in my previous role at Blackberry, the key thing there was attracting talent to Waterloo region, which we did successfully. The key challenge we found on that was healthcare, which is why I participated on and Blackberry supported the Chamber's Healthcare Recruitment Council, which over the past 15 plus years has brought in about 160 general practice doctors to our community. And although we still are in need of doctors, it's really thanks to the chamber and the community and citizens and doctors coming together that we've actually been able to achieve such great results so far.
Thank you very much. The next question is a little lengthy, so just bear with me. And it'll go to Erica first. The population and economy of Waterloo Region is growing, and according to estimates from the Ontario government, we will have an excess of 725,000 residents by 2031. One of the major challenges of managing this growth is building new and maintaining existing infrastructure to meet our economic and service delivery requirements. In many instances, project costs greatly exceed available municipal financial resources. What are your ideas for addressing the infrastructure challenge across Waterloo Region?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to address the issue of growth. When I analyzed the results from Statistics Canada for the period, the last comparable data available between 2006 and 2011, that's the last chunk of time we have Stats Canada has analyzed. The national average for growth was 5.9%. Kitchener was at 7.1%, well above the national average for growth. The city of Waterloo was at 1.3%. And that was a period of success for the city. That's when we had RIM, Research in Motion, as one of the top 5 employers, along with the 2 universities and the 2 biggest insurance companies. So I have a concern about growth. I don't think it's a given. I think we need to be cautious and realize that we can't take growth for granted. On the issue of infrastructure, I think we have a looming crisis. I was speaking with a homeowner who has a home uptown, who has lived on that corner for 11 years and has told me that every 3 months the city of Waterloo sends a maintenance worker to her home to dig and drill out the pipe because the city's portion of the pipe is done. So what we need to do to maintain our very aging underground infrastructure is something I don't believe we've saved adequately for. The new issue that's come up in the media is the aging gas infrastructure. So the gas lines that come to your home, they're aging as well. We have to take a look at what the city's job is, and that is provide service and maintenance and provide infrastructure. That is our challenge. That's what we have to do well. I'm not convinced that we have taken the appropriate steps to maintain our infrastructure. If we don't have an infrastructure that can handle the growth, we will not see the development because we will have to charge developers way too much to try and fix the problems that we've kind of swept under the rug. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was just a little bit longer, and it is a loaded question. So that was 2:30, so we'll have 2 minutes and 30 seconds on this one. It's a bit of a loaded question. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I believe that we do have a large infrastructure deficit in Waterloo. But as far as the growth goes, but first of all, let me address that. I saw the same numbers that Erica did, and I agree that growth forecasts are about as accurate as weather forecasts. And I've been in that business for a long time. I know that any forecasts are subject to inaccuracies, and so we cannot depend on the Ontario government's idea that we're going to be 725,000 people by 2031. We may or we may not, but we can't bet farm on that. We've got to look at what we've got now, and we've got to look at the infrastructure deficit we have. It's around $250,000 or something like that, 250 million rather, in Waterloo. It's a huge number. We've got to say, okay, how much can we put on the taxpayer? If we're going to get the money from the taxpayer to fix the infrastructure, then we've got to take another look at how that money is being spent on a project like the LRT. Take the money that we're going to spend on the LRT, rather than that, put it into the infrastructure that we badly need. I'm very fortunate in that the street that I live on was done over a few years ago, and I saw the mess that it was in when they dug it up, and I saw the mess that the sewer pipes were in, running from my house to the street. I now have pretty good infrastructure on my street. I'm very, very, very happy about that. But there are many streets that do not have that. And we need to address this problem. It's much more important than putting on a train on the tracks to run from one mall to another. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And we go on to Dave Jaworski.
The first step in solving the infrastructure challenge that we're facing is, number one, is to understand it. That's why the City of Waterloo is putting a infrastructure tracking system in place. We'll ensure that we have proper tracking of all the infrastructure that we do have, and then we can make a plan for it. Number two, over the past about 50 years, the amount of infrastructure that's owned by municipalities has grown from about 1/3 in Canada to 2/3. So 2/3 of the infrastructure in Canada is now owned and the responsibility of municipalities and agents and transferred over into a lot of city growth, of course. So what are we going to do about it? Number one is I plan to leverage my government advocacy skills, because a lot of the money for these infrastructure programs will come from primarily the federal government, and we can thank the province for some of the funding for big infrastructure things like the LRT. The LRT is here to move people. Thanks to things like the ION, we will not have to build substantial amounts of new roads. Also, through other alternative transportation of those 200,000-300,000 people who are coming to our community, they will be taking bikes, they will be walking, they will be driving, taking alternative forms of transportation. And that's important to us, because for the rest of us who are car drivers, that eases traffic for us, and that's important. So when I came to Waterloo in '83, population 49,000 people. Today we have 59,000 students. That's an important number. The growth has been spectacular. Nobody in 1983 would guess that we would have that many students and regular population. We need to plan for it. The plan needs to start immediately.
Thank you. And Ronnie.
So I'm going to ask you to repeat the question again.
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. Let me just reset this. It is. The question, the population and economy of Waterloo region is growing. According to estimates from the Ontario government, we will have an excess of 725,000 residents by 2031. One of the major challenges of managing this growth is building new and maintaining existing infrastructure to meet our economic and service delivery requirements. In many instances, project costs greatly exceed available municipal financial resources. What are your ideas for addressing the infrastructure challenge across Waterloo region?
So as Erica and Dave McDonald were discussing, the population only showed a 1.3% growth. Talking to some people who do the analysis of these types of things, they're showing it's not actually representing the growth we've had in the past couple of years. Buildings like the Bauer Lofts, the Red Building, some of the new buildings being built right outside here on Father David Bauer, there's actually been a lot more growth than we're realizing. The good thing about this growth is that we're building up, and in building up, we actually get to use a lot of the infrastructure we already have in place. By all means, we do have to go underground and start replacing some of the piping, some of the wiring, and everything like that. But as we were just saying, the infrastructure is already old, we have to do it anyways. The big problem comes is when we start to continue to build out. Because when we build out into new suburbs and take over all the green fields, we actually have to build brand new roads, add more postal workers, we have to maintain these roads, and add a lot more infrastructure underground. So in order to help mediate the amount of money we're spending in building, building up is the actual answer. It'll help. We get to use the infrastructure we have, we get to maintain the roads that we already use. The other big item we were discussing is about the LRT and how Dave McDonald was saying that we're wasting money building that instead of working on the actual infrastructure. Well, the fact is, in doing the LRT, we are fixing all that infrastructure under it. We're tearing out those roads, we're redoing all the wiring under there, we're redoing the sewers and the water and the gas. So part of the LRT budget is this infrastructure that we have to work on and that we're already doing. So combining all these things together with LRT, we can build up. With upgrading our systems, we can build up. So the best answer and the best way to mediate this is with working with our federal and provincial government, but to kind of stay the course that we're going. The current government's put in place a lot of systems that are working well for us. And using these systems, we are changing things that have to be changed, and we're making sure that we don't grow out too far to help mediate the cost of the future developments.
Any rebuttal, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
You were mentioned directly, so I love a little flair of municipal politics. So
It is true that the infrastructure along the proposed rail line is being replaced, but that doesn't cover the subdivisions like the one that I live in, where Allen Street has been ripped up all summer and has just been recently paved because they've been reducing or putting in new infrastructure there. It doesn't cover a whole lot of neighborhoods. It just covers along the line where the infrastructure is being used for the LRT. The idea that we're going to build up and not out, we don't have that much land in Waterloo to build out on anyway. And what's been happening, and I've been talking to some realtors about this, young families with a couple of kids, they're not going to be wanting to move into a condominium that goes up 20 stories. They're going to move to Wellesley. They're going to move to Ayr. They're going to move to Baden. They're going to move to Elmira, where there aren't these restrictions. We don't have much land left in Waterloo to build out on anyway. So are we saving farmland? No, we're just moving it out into the townships. And so the RT is not the answer at all.
All right, thank you very much. And we will move on to the next question. And this question will start with David Dahl. You guys have water? You got water. All right, this question. As mayor of Waterloo, you will also represent the residents of the city on regional council. What are the priority issues of the city of Waterloo for regional consideration, and how will you secure support from council colleagues for these priorities? Well, that's a good one. I think that a lot of the things that go on in the region recently have been around the LRT question. If we have a new regional council elected, and we will have, it will be a totally different council than we had, because we're a number of mayors who are not running again, some councillors not running again. We may have an opportunity to revisit the whole LRT question. Other areas that the region deals with, of course, the policing and the big awards given to the police officers and the firemen. Those are issues that we can all discuss among ourselves. But I still believe that the biggest issue facing the region is that $2.3 billion expense coming up over the next 30 years. I don't think people realize how big a number $1 billion is. And you can throw these numbers out and you can say, oh, this is what it's going to cost. Prime Minister Harper just signed a free trade agreement with Korea and was crowing about the fact that he's bringing $1.8 billion of new business to Canada. That's less than we're going to spend on the LRT. So I think that is still, to my way of thinking, the biggest issue, because it's going to drive property taxes up by a minimum of 25% for homeowners, and that is going to be the big one. Thanks, Dave. We go on to David Dvorsky.
Certainly from an effective government standpoint, which is part of my platform, making sure we make the most of the annual operating budget of the region of Waterloo of $1 billion annually. We need to make sure that we keep tight ties on that. But I really think if I was sitting at regional council right now, the top issue to me would be the out of the cold program and homelessness, affordable housing, those key issues that are handled by the region. The region currently has a brand new housing action plan that was just released, 10-year plan, but we need action now. I think a lot of people have heard in the media, there's things going on with out of the cold, out of the cold, out of the cold, but we're hearing different stories. And I think as a regional councillor currently, that would be my priority to make progress on that file and to move things forward.
Thank you, Dave. And we go to Rami.
So Dave actually just gave a great answer there, and it's working with our social services, from out of the cold to the ability to stay in their houses. While I agree that we do have to work out of the cold and start finding solutions that aren't relying on just the churches, because it is a region's responsibility to find solutions and not just defer it. The other thing we have to look at is a lot of people in the community who can no longer afford to be in their houses. A lot of people who have worked their entire lives, they've worked hard, and they've earned decent wages, they're now on a reduced income. They're now retired. That reduced income is very hard to survive on. A lot of them own their houses, but when it comes to their property taxes, they can't afford to stay there. So many of them are looking at either selling their homes, having somebody come in and rent with them, or just finding a new place to be. And it's really difficult to see that, because these are people who have built our community. They were the backbone, put us where we are today, and without them, we would not be as successful as we are. Part of my platform was actually focusing on this issue and trying to find ways to mediate this problem. If I was on regional council, I would be working with other regional councillors to work on these issues and find ways to keep people in their houses. I believe that no matter where you are in the region, this is an issue affecting all of us, and I think working together is the best way to mediate this problem.
Thank you, Ronnie. Erica?
It's not a sexy issue. but I think we have a huge problem with our debt and deficit at the regional level. I think money is a problem. Personally, I am averse to debt. I find deficit horrific, and we need to deal with that. We are taking on a huge project with the LRT, but never mind that, we have to make that work. What we need to be very cautious about going forward once we have it is the operational costs associated with it. Our big issue regionally and for the city, but more so regionally, is our debt. And we have to take that seriously. We have to be loath of solutions that appear to just be throwing money at problems. And the way I see the Out of the Cold program, which I'm very familiar with because many of my clients use it, is I think we lost out on the opportunity to work with the churches, to keep our volunteers mobilized, people who love working with the homeless, who love going to the churches and cooking the meals and putting out the beds and feeling like they were offering a home to address the hopelessness that comes with homeless. We lost the opportunity to put the supports into the churches that these people needed, such as plainclothes medical support, plainclothes police officer, people who could give the support to the volunteers that they needed for those few hard cases that they could not manage. Instead, we've thrown out the whole system, and now we're throwing money at providing construction of a facility that these people will not want to use. They will be at the churches. These churches were closed. Why we didn't put nurses and doctors and plainclothes or security support to help with that, I think unfortunately we threw too much money at the problem, and in so doing we did not fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we'll go on to the next question now, and this question will be first to Mr. Dave Jaworski. If elected, will you bring a municipal land transfer tax to the city of Waterloo? No. I like the pregnant pause. That was good.
You know, under my platform of effective government, we need to make sure that the government does do the best with every dollar that the city has. Currently, we have an operational budget of about $125 million. We need to make sure that we do the most of what we already have, and to keep track of that. So honestly, it's just something I have to pause and give more reflection to.
All right, thank you.
Contrary to Mr. Jaworski, I actually would. The problem with not having something like that is it falls back onto the taxpayer. The taxpayer who may not be buying a property or may be renting, and these are people who don't have that extra cash. Whether the money comes from land transfer taxes or from somewhere else, the money still has to exist. We're building more infrastructure, we need to get more doctors, we need to continue growing our society, but these things all cost money. And nobody wants to pay taxes. I don't want to pay taxes, nor would any of you. But without that money, we can't do the things that keep our society safe, happy, and enjoyable to live in. So personally, I believe that transfer taxes are important because what it does is it brings the money coming from developers and other places like that instead of coming out of the general public's tax dollar, and it helps ease the amount of tax money that we're all paying as a community, and makes the priority on the people who want to build on these lands, want to buy these properties, and who are building and making money off the rest of us as we buy the properties from them afterwards.
Thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you. My answer is no. I think we pay enough. We probably pay way too much. So we need to learn what every individual in our community, what most people in our community have had to learn, and that is making do with what we have and not expecting to have more and more and more. I think people are being crushed by our tax load. The people who buy and sell homes, they should be encouraged to do so. Land transfer tax, it's just too much. It's just too much. We've had too much. So I would not want my name to stand for a new tax, yet again another tax, yet again another expense. That is not something I would support. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
And I too would say no. I think we have enough taxes, as Erica said. And land transfer tax don't just affect builders, they affect anyone who's selling a home to someone else. And those taxes, I don't think are a good idea. We have enough taxes that we pay already, so I would not support a municipal land transfer tax in any way, shape, or form.
Rami has a rebuttal, so I'll give you 60 seconds.
So my question for the rest of you is, we're all in support of adding more infrastructure. 2 out of the 3 of you there want to add the LRT. And we're all acknowledging the fact that there's a lot of work that this community needs to do. But where's the money going to come from? If we don't do things like that, we're going to have to put it back on the everyday taxpayer. People who have been in their houses their entire lives and can't continue to stay there. People who are renting properties and will continue to rent because they can't afford to buy a house and have management for taxes. The people who are buying and selling houses, the people who are buying and developing on properties, these are the people making the money and who have that extra little bit that they can give back to the community that's giving them so much. So my big question is, where is this money going to come from? It's not from land tax credits. If you guys are saying you don't want to put it on the taxpayers either, it has to come from somewhere.
All right, so okay, now we get a minute each.
My answer is it comes from increased efficiency. We have to learn to do it better with what we have. When you have less money to buy groceries, if your budget is $100, we all know what we do. We buy more efficiently. We buy so that we can provide for our families over the period. We're less wasteful. We have to look critically at how we're spending, how we're doing things. The answer is increased efficiency, and everybody knows the government needs to learn how to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
And I would agree that the land transfer tax is just another tax on homeowners. The people that Rami referred to live in apartments who can't afford to buy a home, put a land transfer tax on the home, that just makes it more unaffordable for those people. So once again, I say no. I agree that we need to be more efficient, but I think that if we kill the LRT, we're going to save $2 billion right away. So we can put that money into the infrastructure as well.
Thanks, Dave. And Dave Jaworski.
I think overall you need to look at not only the city budget, but the regional budget. And if you look at the regional budget, a good portion of that money does not come from taxpayers locally. It comes from taxpayers provincially and federally. We receive funding from them. So we need to make sure that we advocate for our share of funding to augment our budgets. So that's number one. Number two, let's not forget development charges. Developers, as they create a new, and if you look at the project that was just recently approved at City Council, spectacular development at Albert and Columbia, that will generate lots of development charge funding that comes to the city. It's important to realize we have lots of things, lots of taxes already, lots of ways to keep funding, and we need to work effectively with what we have and make sure we make great choices as a city.
Thank you very much. And we're back to Rami now. The next question, as mayor, you will also advance the city's positions to provincial and national municipal associations. What should the rest of Ontario and Canada know about the city of Waterloo?
So one thing we all know that is Waterloo has some of the greatest minds in the world here already. We've been marketing that for years and years now, and we got to continue doing this. The other great thing people don't realize about Waterloo is we have a lot of great incubators. These are non-for-profit groups working with universities to help take these great minds and help them grow, become better, and to get them to the point where they become entrepreneurs and help grow our local community. Other great things about Waterloo is our business sector. We have one of the region as a whole has one of the diverse business sectors possible, from manufacturing to tech industry to insurance and many others along the way. The big thing we get to promote is that Waterloo is a diverse community filled with people from all over the world who are all here working to make this place better. Everybody here wants Waterloo to succeed, and as a community and as we continue to grow, it's happening. We have more doctors coming and being trained here. We have more people who are building these tech companies and taking us further, and lots of people starting startups to help provide better assistance to people throughout the community. As a whole, there's a lot Waterloo has to offer, and I think once we start showing the world stage that, you'll start to see people continue to come to Waterloo.
Erica?
Well, we saw this week in the news that Canada was recognized as one of the top cities in Canada as being beautiful, and it is a beautiful city. Beauty is attractive. People like to live in beautiful cities. We have world-class architecture. We have an incredibly engaged, enlightened population, and I see that when I knock on doors and I end up spending 20 minutes in a discussion with people who understand our issues and are engaged and very much care about the future of our city. The message I send to the world and to all of Canada is Waterloo is open for business. Let's talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Dave?
I think we need to promote the fact that Waterloo is one of the best cities in the world to live in. I think we need to promote the fact that we have 2 world-class universities here. We have the Perimeter Institute, where some of the best minds in the world come, and we are basically part of Silicon Valley North. We are the city that invented the smartphone, and Research in Motion, now BlackBerry, have fallen on harder times recently. Because of competition in the marketplace, we actually invented the whole concept of the smartphone in the first place. So this is a wonderful, wonderful city to live in. I came here to the region in 1968. I've lived in Ayr, I've lived in Cambridge, I've lived in Kitchener, and for the last 21 years, I've lived in Waterloo. And to my mind, Waterloo is unbeatable as a place to live, to work, and play. And I would be more than happy to be the ambassador for the city and go out and explain that to the rest of the world.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Jaworski.
Just a few days ago, His Excellency Governor General David Johnston was back in town celebrating the Kiddo Beauty Foundation's 30th anniversary, and he told a story of when he used to go around the world. And I think it's more important to look at how we look to the world, because that's where jobs and things that help our economy are going to come from. When he was going around, he called his presentation "What's in the Water in Waterloo?" And for anybody who had helped out, I did university relations at the time, so I worked with him when he was university president. We hosted over 50 Chinese delegations coming to our city. I worked with him and was able to see what's in the water in Waterloo. It's all about our branding and the excitement that's here. And he spoke about his barn raising plan. I really think we need to dig out David Johnston's 10-point barn raising plan from, must be around 2007, 2008. I think it's important that we work regionally through like the Waterloo Region Economic Development Corporation. It makes no sense that 7 mayors need to, and 1 regional chair, need to independently go out for business. We need to work cooperatively so that we save money and get more achieved. Because if somebody wants 50 acres of land, they're probably setting up in Cambridge, Woolwich, Kitchener. They're just not that. If somebody wants to set up a university and bring jobs here, it's probably going to be in Waterloo. So we need to act cooperatively so we can get more business to Waterloo and accentuate our brand as a region.
Thank you, Dave. We can go on to the next question now. This one goes to Erica first. The question, if elected, would you freeze development charges over the next 4 years?
My answer is, when elected, I will have a discussion with our developers, and I will be all ears to hear what it will take to increase development and address #1 issue, the issue that is plaguing so many, and that is access to low-income housing. Why are we not seeing cranes in the air building low-income housing? That is an answer I want to hear from developers, and my question is, what do we have to do to get you to build it? We need to have that discussion. We need to see that being done. We have the opportunity now. Intensification is a provincial initiative. The province has mandated intensification. We need to use that as an opportunity along the LRT route to have a diversity of housing available. We are seeing an abundance of luxury condos and housing. Our seniors are suffering. They cannot afford to live in these luxury condos. And what is happening, I have heard from seniors who are now in apartment buildings that are predominantly occupied by students. And you can imagine for a senior person to live in a building that is mostly students is a loud and traumatic experience. We are letting our low-income families down. We need to address that. For example, I've heard from some developers who say that our regulations make it impossible for them to make money. I want to hear about that. One example is the requirement for parking spaces. It makes no sense, in my opinion, to require a developer to spend money building parking spaces along the LRT route for low-income housing. The answers are in the community, and that is where I will go find them. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Dave McDonald.
Well, the question was, would we freeze development charges? And I think we need to open up a dialogue with developers and builders to find out what they think about the whole thing, because a lot of the friends of mine who are in the development industry certainly are overwhelmed by some of the development charges. So they're going outside the city to build their subdivisions. They can't afford to build in Waterloo anymore, so they build in Wellesley, or they build in Ayr. So that is a problem, and we need to get them back here. And so we need to look at that, but I can't say whether we freeze them or not without some dialogue between myself and the builders involved, just to find out exactly how large a problem this really is.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Jaworski.
A few months ago, the Region of Waterloo made some changes to development charges, which will impact Waterloo's uptown significantly, and really put us at a significant competitive disadvantage relative to the city of Cambridge and the downtown of the city of Kitchener. I'm not sure there's negotiation room available at this point on that, but we're going to be undergoing, the next term council will undergo a significant challenge in attracting development to our downtown because of that regional change. And some councillors did speak up and try to guide the regional councillors to a better decision for Waterloo, but we're left facing it. That'll be faced by the next council here in 2015 to determine how we're going to address development in Waterloo. So I don't think it's about freezing. I think it's about addressing the issue of the radical change that came about a few months ago.
Thank you, Dave. Rami?
So I agree that we do need to have a conversation with our developers, but at the same time, I don't believe freezing is going to be the right option. In my opinion, the best option is to continue to increase them at the rate of inflation, as our taxes do and as everything else we do. As soon as we start reducing the amount of money going in from developers, again, it's going to come out of the taxpayer's pocket. The money does have to come from somewhere. So to me, a developer who's going to be building a property can afford to spend just as much as the rest of us are on our property taxes. Now, as Eric mentioned, we do have to work with our less fortunate people who don't have affordable housing. Instead of getting rid of the development charges, we're better off giving it as a grant. At that point, we can have an equal value to what the development charges would be, given as a grant to people who are building housing for low-income people. The problem with the blanket situation where you give no development charges to everybody is with the high-end luxury condo situation, where they're making all this money and now they're saving a bit more, but it doesn't help the community in any way other than having a brand new building. So to me, the answer, continue with the rate of inflation, provide granting for people who do want to do low-income housing to help offset the cost of that, and continue to grow our community and make sure that we're not taking more money out of the taxpayer's pocket to help the developer.
Thank you, Ronnie. Just making sure there's no hands up in the air for any rebuttals in case I missed them. I'm really excited to hear answers about this question, actually. And this question will go first to Dave McDonald. The tough one to you first. Would you support merging all fire departments across Waterloo region?
I've given this a bit of thought, and I think the experience with the region having merged police departments and transit has been that in those cases costs increased. The argument was that costs would decrease dramatically if we merged everything together. That has not been the case. And so, no, I don't think I would be, at this point in time, in favor of merging the fire services across the region.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Jaworski.
The next term council is going to have a lot of things to juggle. We need to bring in the ION on time, on budget, with least impact to our uptown businesses, and we need to drive ridership. We need to focus on that both as a city and as a region. Number two, intensification. You do see a lot of development on Father David Bauer Drive, elsewhere through our city. We have a lot of balls in the air, a lot of things to juggle as a council. Throwing in another thing, like trying to get something that is, our most key safety effort in our community. Most people don't know the thousands of times that Waterloo firefighters are the first people on the scene for a medical emergency. It's these kinds of things that we can't just say, gee, let's try that. It needs to be well thought out, and with all the things happening in our city right now is not the time.
Thank you, Dave. And Rami, over to you.
So this is something I believe that we really have to talk with our firefighters to go about. We at the city aren't equipped to know what it's like to be a firefighter. We don't have all the answers. And the fact of the matter is, we probably aren't the best people to make that judgment. When it comes to the financial side, we could probably look at working with the fire departments across the region to do group purchasing of equipment and group purchasing of supplies. But in terms of putting the fire department into the region, I think that's something that has to be a one-on-one conversation with our firefighters, with the people who are on the front line, who understand how their industry works. The region, we don't do fire safety, we don't know what we're doing. It's not our lives at risk. So to me, the best option is we sit down at the table, we discuss it with the people who actually understand what it's like to be a firefighter. We find ways to help the situation, whether it's doing group purchasing for supplies and letting everything stay at the city level, or moving it all up to the regional level. They'll know better than we will, and it's our job to work with them to make sure that we do the best thing possible for the community as a whole.
Thanks, Rami. Erica?
Yes, well, ditto what Ron said. I think I agree with him on this one. The issue is one that must be resolved by listening to our firefighters. It is a fact of the matter that the fire truck, in any emergency, medical or otherwise, is there first. They are most likely, if you have a devastating injury or medical situation in your vehicle or at your home, they will be there first to render assistance. Sometime later, as we know, the ambulance will show up. They're there first on site. So the issue is to the fire department, and I can tell you I submitted my questionnaire that they sent me earlier this week, and I do have a copy with a member of our fire department. But the number one issue I'd like to hear about is response time. What is it, and how do we make it smaller? How do we get the fire people on scene faster, more efficiently? Whether we upload that to the region is something that will be determined by the fire department's ability to do their job better and faster. I think they should be rendering more life-saving services on the scene just because they get there first. If they can't do as good of a job, if it's uploaded to the region, then I say it stays in the city. I don't have the answer to that. Our fire chief has the answer to that, and I wish he was here to tell us. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. The next question will go to Dave Jaworski first, and I have to say it's short, simple, and sweet, but it's a loaded question. Very simply, what is your vision for the city of Waterloo?
I think we need to take everything into account and look at what are the basic things that we have here. A great environment, water, education, an entrepreneurial spirit, an entrepreneurial environment. And that is our brand. If you look at it from a North American perspective of a small city, being about 100,000 people, once we have light rail transit, we have 59,000 students here. Most people don't realize that a place like Stanford and MIT and Harvard, they pale in comparison to the size of the University of Waterloo. We are a leader in education. We will have a great infrastructure for transit. We will have a great community that has an entrepreneurial spirit. 7 entrepreneurship organizations on one street alone in our city. We won't have mountains, and we won't have oceans. Maybe we can do something with the Grand River, maybe we can do something there. But we won't have mountains, we won't have oceans. If you want a place to raise a family, you can get out into the environment and have fresh water, and start a business, and live comfortably without living in a gated community, Waterloo, Ontario, Canada is the place to be.
Thank you very much, Dave, and we go to Ronnie.
So similar to Dave, one of my favorite things about Waterloo Because within 10 minutes, no matter where you are, you can be out of the country. I think a lot of people here take that for granted. Because no matter where you are in the rest of the world, to be in a city that is developed as much as Waterloo, with such great universities, with such great incubators, with a huge local business initiative, with lots of large corporate entities such as Sun Life and Manulife, with companies that are gigantic in form and with small business growing everywhere. Yet we also have the huge art scene from the KW Symphony to all these other small organizations. Waterloo is phenomenal that way. And my vision for Waterloo is to keep that culture growing. I think Waterloo is a phenomenal place to be. I've been here all my life. I've traveled to other countries and I've yet to see somewhere I'd rather be than here. And the fact of the matter is, I enjoy Waterloo for what we have, and I want to keep it going that way. I want us to build up so we can always go out to that farmland and still see it. So if we want to go watch the comet that day, you don't have to drive 2 hours out of town to Toronto. You can drive a 10-minute drive and see that. You can get local product from local farmers just outside your door. You can continue your education from grade school to university, do a master's or a PhD program, and then continue studying at places like the Perimeter Institute. These are things that Waterloo has that no other community that I know of can match. And that is what makes Waterloo who we are today. And I want to keep that vision going and help make sure that we continue to have that and make Waterloo what we love for what it is today.
Thank you, Ryan. And Eric.
Waterloo is a desirable place to live. And we have a lot more in Waterloo than our tech community. Our tech giants have given us so much, and we are the envy of the world for the kind of investment we have gotten in Waterloo. And I will always be grateful to our tech community. But there is more to Waterloo. And if anybody can take care of themselves, it is our tech giants, our incubators, our accelerator center, our velocity center. They don't need the city needs them, and we want to keep them. My vision for Waterloo is a community where nobody in whatever industry, small business, not high-tech business, food manufacturing, any individual in our city, my vision is that nobody feels left out or left behind. This is your city, and my vision of Waterloo is one where everybody feels important and relevant, not just the tech giants. They are heroic figures and world class, but there's a lot more to Waterloo, and we need to remember that. And that is my vision, your community, your city. That's who I would be serving as your mayor.
Thank you, Eric. David.
I think that all 4 of us up here on this platform would agree that Waterloo is one of the best places in the world to live. And many of the reasons for that have been stated. I myself live in the Uptown Ward, and I'm about a 15, 18-minute walk from downtown, and I often make that walk. And I find that I can walk downtown, I can go into a restaurant, get a meal, walk up and down the street, no matter what the time of day or evening is, and I feel perfectly safe doing so. That's something that a lot of cities you cannot say about. And so I think that Waterloo is one of the best places to live, work, and play right now. And my vision is to keep it that way, keep it safe, and keep it attractive. Yes, we need to make it a place attractive to businesses to come and start their businesses and settle here. We need to deal with the growth of the city. But right now, it is and will continue to be one of the finest places in Canada, if not the world, to live and raise a family, and I want to keep it that way.
Thank you, Dave. And we're back now to Rami for this question. So you guys just talked a little bit about the vision for the city of Waterloo. This question, what do you see as the single biggest challenge for the city of Waterloo over the next 4 years?
So the thing I see as the biggest challenge for the city of Waterloo is us staying on budget without having to greatly increase our taxes. My biggest fear is, everyone is correct here, that we have a lot of infrastructure that needs to be addressed. We are building the LRT. We have a lot more people coming to the region. There's a lot of things that have to be changed and are beginning to be changed. And I think it's the same fear that everybody else out here has. It's that we're going to end up going way over budget, and it's going to come out of the taxpayer's pocket. So where I think that we're going to put a lot of focus is properly managing the services we provide, making sure that we don't have overlapping services in which two different divisions are providing the same service without communication. Working as a community to amalgamate certain services such as our bylaws with Kitchener and Waterloo to help reduce redundancies, and making sure that we are responsible for every penny that comes into our tax, that comes into our tax budget and goes out. The fact of the matter is, it's our job to manage the money that we get. It's your money, not ours. We have to make sure we're responsible for it, that it's being properly spent, and that we don't forget to build our infrastructure, that we don't go too far over budget, and that we ensure that we are spending your money properly.
Thank you, Ronnie. Erica?
I think the biggest issue that we are facing, we know the costs associated with building the LRT. I think we have a big challenge and issue in making sure that the operational costs don't kill us. We need to make sure that the LRT connects people from the front door of their home to their destination. So establishing, building an infrastructure that enables ridership and to keep those operational costs under control, because we have not seen those numbers, and it is a challenge. It's going to be a big challenge for the city, not just to build the LRT, but to do it right and get that ridership so that we don't drown under operational expense. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Dave?
Well, when it comes to the LRT and the operational expense, the region claims $30 million a year is what they're saying will cost to operate it, but they forget about the actual extension of rapid buses to Cambridge. And if you look on their website, the actual operating cost of this thing is $45 million a year, and the building cost is $818 million. And if you add it all up, it's $2.3 billion. And that's money that could well be spent elsewhere, right? Because the LRT will not achieve the ridership goals that the region says it will. They're looking at a 12% population that will ride this thing. Not going to happen. If you look at LRTs in other cities in the U.S., the ridership is averaging about 2%, anywhere from 1 to 3%. So it is not going to be a 12% ridership. No way on earth. So this is going to be a huge drain on taxes. John Shortreed, who is a transportation engineer, estimates that taxes will go up by a minimum of 25% for the average homeowner in the region because of this thing. Anyway, that's my take on the LRT. $2.3 billion is way too much money to spend. We could do it a lot better for a lot less with a rapid bus system. Buses are more flexible. They'll carry the people the same way. They'll get from place to place. It's not as a train. That's the only thing about the train. I wonder how many people actually realize that this is not a train as like a subway train, but a streetcar that uses overhead wires. We're going to have to build a whole new structure for the overhead wires. People I talked to, I didn't realize that. It is basically going back to the 1907 streetcars that were stopped running in 1946, and they ripped up the tracks because the people then felt it wasn't a worthwhile thing. So get rid of the LRT and use the money wisely.
Thank you, Dave. Jaworski.
I think that we really have two major challenges affecting our community. Number one is certainly from an infrastructure standpoint, and that is ION. And we need to drive for success on that. I really believe that success is within our grasp for the ION. Reason is we have 20,000 riders a day on King Street. The target for the ION at launch in 2018 is 25,000. River Transit has had growth of about 6% a year. You add 6% a year, compound it, you know what number you get? 2018, 25,000. Success is literally within our grasp for ridership. This isn't just our target. I called the mayor's office in Ottawa, in Calgary, and in Edmonton. I spoke to them. Their ridership targets for launching their new LRTs, which they continue to build, and have found them very successful, 25,000. So it's a common ridership target. So that's number one. Number two, and we need to keep our eye on this. That's the biggest challenge. Number two, the social sector. I really feel we don't have a good handle, good solution for programs like Out of the Cold, affordable housing. There is no easy answer from any one of us at the council table we need to come together as a community, as an innovative community, to begin to bring more innovative ideas for helping solve these social problems, poverty, homelessness, affordable housing, so that we can pitch these ideas to the federal and provincial government at the innovative budget that achieve funding.
15 seconds.
Just as Minister Finley brought us $2 million a few weeks ago for a Housing First program targeted at homelessness.
Thank you, Dave. That is all the questions that I have. We are a little bit early here. I've been given the green light to maybe ask anybody in the audience if anybody had a question. I have the green light for a question or two to take, and so we'll just keep going down the line here. So this question would be for Erica. Does anybody have a question in it? Sure. Yep, sure.
So there are a number of developers and speculators that have taken the region of Waterloo to the Ontario Municipal Board, and the Ontario Municipal Board ruled that that the region of Waterloo as a whole has to give 1,000 hectares of land for greenfield development. That ruling is under appeal. If the region loses that appeal, then where does the land come from? How does it affect the city of Waterloo, and how does it affect the region as a whole? Because you're going to be on regional council.
All right, thank you. And so we'll start with Erica.
Well, history of success for regions or other municipalities like the Ontario Municipal Board is not good. Usually when decisions are appealed, they fall to the success of the developer. We do not have that kind of greenfield in Waterloo. What I think as a city we need to understand is that when we get development and the jobs are going to neighboring municipalities, what we can offer is a desirable place to live, because quite frankly, we want the taxes paid in the city of Waterloo. So there is a relationship with the other surrounding municipalities, which I describe much like symbiosis in biology, where the success of one neighboring municipality, we have to find a way to make it the success of Waterloo, because Waterloo has something very different to offer than does a municipality with acres and acres of greenfields. We simply don't have that. We have to find a way to make that success our success. And if we can build a beautiful city that everybody wants to live in, we all win. And that's my approach to that. We have to avoid, however, situations where developers are not able to work with the city and these things get tied up in appeals and OMB hearings and yada yada. That is not a win for the city. We have to find a way to form collaborative partnerships with stakeholders. Private investment will save us. We have to work with that. To be fighting, to be combative, to waste all this resource on appeals, that does not benefit the taxpayer.
Thank you, Erica. Dave?
Well, if the OMB rules against it, then we have to look at that decision and find a way to work with everyone in the development community to make it all work. So how much land do we have in Waterloo? I'm not sure of the exact number, but if we don't have enough land here, as Erica said, the developers will go elsewhere. That's already happening when they go out to some of the outlying communities, and we would like to attract them here. If a farmer owns a plot of land and he wants to sell it to a developer, and the developer wants to develop that plot of land, that should be between the developer and the farmer. And certainly we would like to see that happen more in the city of Waterloo than in Wellesley or Ayr or Baden or Elmira. So whatever the decision comes down, we have to work within that decision and try and make it work the best for the city of Waterloo.
Thank you, Dave. Dave?
From a governance standpoint, that's part of my background, participating on the boards of the Chamber of Commerce, the board of the Community Foundation, the board of Communitech. A good board realizes when to look to staff for answers. And for something like this, you look to staff for answers, to bring back a report on what are the potential solutions for this, to give it study. Our staff at the city and at the region have a lot of expertise. And we can rely on their expertise and their project management to get things done and to bring back ideas to council for recommendation.
Thank you, Dave. And we go to Ron.
There's not too much for me to add to this. Erica's completely correct in the fact that if we lose the case, we are going to have to abide by the rules. But not much of the land will end up coming from Waterloo. We don't have much greenfield left. Where I think we have to work is, as a region, finding areas that we can give this land up, whether it's or some of the townships that will have the least impact on our local farmers and our local business and society and everything like that. Trying to keep it more towards where the city's already been developed, and trying to make sure we protect those people who want to stay on the land, who want to keep farming, and making sure that we don't surround them with damaging businesses and buildings which are going to cause problems for their infrastructure. So again, also as Dave said, we got to rely on people in the region who understand these aspects better than we do to give us a good report of where we'll have the least amount of impact on the local community in adding these lands.
Thank you, Rami, and thank you so much for your question. That is all the time that we have for questions. I would now ask the candidates to, for their closing statements, for their closing remarks. So 90 seconds for your closing remarks, and we'll start with Rami, so the microphone goes back to you. 90 seconds.
So in this forum, we will be able to discuss a lot of items in our local political spectrum. Although we only scratched the surface of the issues that matter in both the city and region of Waterloo, I hope you guys got a good idea of where I stand in my political views. In my platform, I focus on 3 major areas of improvement: management, investment, and protection. In each of these categories, I discuss not only what we need to grow as a community, but also where we can work to save money in order to reduce our tax burden and invest in infrastructure without heavily relying on raising our taxes at exorbitant amounts. The worst thing I believe we can do as a city is let someone who is here acting on part as lobbyists, whether it's for special interest groups, supporters, or simply just to stop the LRT. I believe, like many of you in the community, our government should be led by an open-minded individual who is open working with everyone. It shouldn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what you do for a living, because the reality is that in government, it's all about you. For that, I hope this October you vote Rami Saeed to be your mayor of Waterloo. If you want to learn more information about who I am, what my platform I stand on, or how to simply get a hold of me, visit my website at ramisaeed.ca. Thank you to the Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce, 570 News, and the Waterloo Rec Center for hosting this event. And thank you to everyone who is here and watching at home, because without you, we couldn't do any of this.
Thank you, Rami. We now go to Sarah.
I'll be short, so I will stay here. There is a lot more to Waterloo than what we were able to cover here this evening. And there certainly is more to my platform and my story than I have conveyed to you this evening as well. So I invite you to please take one of my postcards. My story is on the back, and a brief statement of my platform is on the back as well. I very humbly and respectfully ask for your support, and I ask that on October 27th, you vote for me and make me your mayor so that I may serve you honorably and humbly for the next 4 years. My goal in 4 years is for you to look back and say, Erica, she was a great mayor, she listened to us, and she was able to serve us. And for that, I thank you.
Thank you, Erica. David Gong.
Well, thank you again for hosting this event, and it is certainly always good to see the voters turn out. Voter interest is important. I've been getting emails and phone calls and questions, and I respond to them, and invariably they respond back and say, thank you for responding. And I respond to them and say, thank you for asking the question, because it's important that voters get involved. If elected mayor, if I'm given that honor, as I've said, I will be completely accessible. My plan is to be available to anyone who has a problem, no matter what it is, no matter who they are. I will try and work with them to find a solution to the problem. If I can't do it myself, I will work with the staff to find out how we can fix the problem. So that is number one, accessible. 2, accountable. There will be no hidden accounts. There will be no hidden expense accounts of any kind. Everything will be out in the open with me. And if you have a question about how money is being spent, you need to ask, and I will tell you. 3rd one is affordable. I think that we need to make sure that the dollars that your taxes are being well spent, because we're in mind. So we're looking for the best deal for every tax dollar spent. And finally, I will be a great ambassador for this city because I'm well known from Windsor to Wyerton, from Hamilton to Huntsville. So in Southern Ontario, everybody knows me, so that will open doors to promote the city of Waterloo as the best place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And finally, Dave Jaworski.
Well, thank you very much to the Chamber for hosting this and webcasting this to make it available for everyone. I have a clear plan to improve our city. I want to be the next Mayor Lou because I bring experience, leadership, and positive impact and such changes to our government. I want to deliver on my commitments that I've laid out my plan to rebuild prosperity, create effective government, and support a vibrant and caring community. The full details of my plan are available on my website, davejaworski.ca. On October 27th, I hope you will choose me and my plan to move Waterloo forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. And on behalf of the Chamber, I would like to thank all of the candidates for taking time from your busy schedules here tonight to participate in this forum. Tonight, I would also like to thank the staff from the Waterloo Rec Complex and, of course, the City of Waterloo for hosting, and, of course, everyone from the community in attendance here tonight and also watching live on the webcast. If you are a resident of Waterloo, the election date is just over a month away, so please ensure you are aware of your voting location. And the Chamber hopes this forum has provided some relevant perspectives on your issues of concern. Thank you very much and have yourself a great evening.